Perfect.
Hey guys, welcome to TST Garage. I'm Bart, and in today's product feature episode, I have a 2021 and up Yamaha MT-09 in the shop with me. We will be presenting the new integrated taillight by TST Industries to you. We do have a separate installation video, so if you need help with the actual installation steps, please look on our YouTube channel or our website, tstindustries.com. You'll find that there. This video will just discuss the technical specs of this particular item. I will break it up into several sections for you to keep the things moving and keep things organized. First, we'll talk about the aesthetic design, how that came to be. Then we'll jump into the innards, we'll bust this thing apart, and we'll compare it to the OEM unit. And then we'll talk about the ease of installation. All right, let's go down memory lane a little bit, back to 2021, when I first laid eyes on photos of this bike. I immediately noticed that the taillight looked really, really nice. It was a sophisticated design, and it kind of complemented the tail of this bike in at least a convergence of the lines from the side. But I had ideas immediately on how I would design the taillight to fully match all of the design language on this bike, being that we have this sort of mech organic blend between mechanical looking assemblies and components here, blending into curviness here in the aft section with some vent geometry, and also the undertail coming in and scooping under. Furthermore, I really do like to pay attention to the front end of the vehicle in designing the tail end components. So I looked at headlight, I looked at the faux scoops here that lead some air to the intake system, also imagined in our components like our MEG GTR signals and a couple of our other components that we have for this bike. And the whole picture that I painted in my head kind of led me in the direction that I ended up taking with this taillight. Now what you see in front of me is actually like Rev G, I think, Rev H maybe. I lost count. I generated many different design ideas, and I actually executed them and I prototyped them, and some of them ended up looking really goofy in the real space. In the computer space, they look very interesting, but they were just a no-go. And so I iterated and finally I settled on something that was my eureka moment. Really, it resembled this final unit with the exception of this being brought to full manufacturability. And by that I mean anything can be designed in the computer, but can we actually make it? And these lights are comprised of many subcomponents and everything has to jive with each other. They're made in separate molding tools, and then you have the circuitry that goes inside. Everything has to assemble perfectly so that you guys have a proper product with proper longevity, and you get out of it what we envision we want you to get out of it. So, all of that going on for about 8 months. I finally settled on this thing, and it took me another couple months to finalize it for manufacturing. And then we had to go into the mold design stage. That took extra time. Well, finally we were spitting out tooling prototypes, meaning our mold tooling is spitting out the actual molded parts. We had some prototype circuits, we assembled them, played with them on the bikes, and I was finally settled on the final look, and we pressed go on that. So, in summary of that, I feel like all of the design language on this bike screams MechWarrior. If you guys are from the 90s, you know MechWarrior, the video game. It looks like a robot with some organic aspects to it, and it really deserves a better converging back end here. So we made that happen. When you compare these two lights, you actually can tell that ours makes a better job of taking these two lines and bringing them together. Furthermore, I designed in these ducts. They are actually color and texture matched to all the plastic components around. So you're essentially taking this tail and stepping it down into ducts and pushing that out farther. Now, from the side, you will have a lit edge here when the light is operating. You also have glow up top. and you have several light fields in here that emit light to the rear of the bike and to the side of the bike. We decided to go with a frosted texture on the lens here and on these fields here. This enables us to take the point lights that are in the optical system on the inside of the light and blow them out into a glowing sort of surface. Instead of having these really bright centers and differences in brightness, you get a very uniform spread of light, and that looks really, really great, and also enables us to channel the light in directions that we choose to. So up top here, you have everything is polished. We do have line pipes coming across so that you don't have a glow. You basically have a uniform look up top. From the rear, you have the Y field here that will glow out that way. This we call the C field. It'll glow out to the side and rear. And then you have the I fields that have the most highest intensity of light discharge coming out from them. And we've designed those to be in a squished down cone sort of a light pattern. So these will end up emitting parallel to the rear, but overlapping a little bit. So you have the most brightness behind the vehicle and then less, but still enough to the sides. Let's talk about the lens now. So you can see here, the OEM unit has a fully red tinted lens with a chrome reflector behind it. For our TST Industries taillight, we decided to solve a little different. In the past, we've offered clear and smoked lens. With this unit, we have the benefit of some of the tail fairings, under tail fairing, and also the seat shrouding out some of the tail light from ambient light entry. That just means that we won't have a lot of light coming in and bouncing around, making the actual lens look very brilliant and clear. We can actually add a little bit of tiny amount of tint to the plastic and not kill the light output while still keeping the look very muted. On the bike, you'll notice that the actual taillight looks smoked, but we used a very minimal amount of tint in that lens element. So for the purpose of not attenuating the output, we use a tiny amount of tint, and the rest is done by the shrouding and also the black components all within the taillight. I think I'm done with the aesthetics. Let's bust this thing open and talk about the innards. In the past, our approach to light engine design was such that we would take through-hole LEDs and populate as much of the surface area of the PCB with the largest number that we could fit on there. And that became problematic because, one, we were using through-hole LEDs that have a very cumbersome soldering process associated with them. We were killing a lot of the area available for components with just LEDs. So building a computerized system that has a program button and changes modes usually demanded a second circuit board or some convoluted way of designing it. We also sometimes needed to expand beyond the one circuit board's reach within the taillight, so we needed to run separate circuit boards to the side or under it. Here's a good example of a 5 PCB setup where we had 4 LED boards with about 100 LEDs on here. I think this one's 108. And then we had the computer board here that sets the different programs. Well, this was all nice, ended up with nice results in our taillights, and we were able to get ample light spread from this many LEDs covering the surface area of that circuit board. But that's not, it's a little problematic in the manufacturing space, and it doesn't lend itself to trouble-free manufacturing. So we decided to go back to the drawing board, and nowadays we have newer and better technology available to us. So we decided to go for as few circuit boards as possible and keep all of the components to the SMD type, where it's all robotically placed, it's all robotically soldered. So we have really good results with those. Also, the LEDs that are available for SMD type as SMD components are nowadays the prevalent type, and we're able to source many different types of LEDs, and the ones that we got for this particular project are super high powered. They do look very small, but they do have a very high discharge rate, especially so with the pulse width modulation power supply that we put on board on this unit. We are able to pulse it with higher current than it would typically take before burning out in straight DC. So in effect, we're able to pulse it with higher current, get more light out of it, and fool your eyes into thinking that it's constantly on. What you see here is our reflector. It's part of the optics. It works in conjunction with all the lens surfaces that I demonstrated in the previous section. We needed to take those point lights, the emissions from each individual LED chip, and use a reflecting focusing system that focuses all that light straight back right through these lens elements and lens surfaces. So this is how our light engine works in conjunction with all the LEDs and all of the resistors that step down the voltage for those LEDs. We have a computerized system on the bottom side of the top PCB. Back here you have the program button. This will let you toggle through all the different functions that this taillight has. It has several functions for brake alert, it has several functions for the type of signal that you're going to choose. We have 9 different combinations of program states. 3 of them are for different brake functions. You have standard brake, strobe alert brake, and then pulsar brake that continues pulsing as long as you have your brake pressed. Then on the signal side, you have standard signal that just flashes like a standard signal. You have sequential signal that goes up and over to the side that you're signaling, and then finally illuminates the eye field. And then you have pulsar signal, which also just continues pulsing with every flash of the signal. Now, our customer favorite combination has always been the strobe brake alert. Pulses 5 times, turns on solid. And then also for the signal, the favorite would be the sequential. And I bet on this particular light, that will still be the case. All right, we've made it through to the last section of the video, and this is on the ease of installation. And like our other taillight units, it'll be as easy as pulling this guy out and putting this guy in. We have a comprehensive step-by-step video ready for you on our YouTube channel or tstindustries.com in the product page for this part. So you can access that there. I will break it down for you with all the tools that you need to use and every little nuance that you'll need, tips and tricks and such. Some of the parts have to come off the taillight. We scavenge those, we put them on our taillight, physically mount it back on the bike, and all of the wiring is plug and play. We've outfitted this taillight with all of the OEM style connectors, so the main connector would just snap in, and obviously this is an integrated taillight. It does have signals on board, so we also had to give you the signaling connectors that will plug right back into the bike. In bikes prior to 2021, for Yamaha at least, there was a necessity to do something about the flash rate. Anytime you go away from using incandescent light bulbs in the signals to LED type signals, external or in the taillight, these things draw much less current and the system would get all tripped up and it would flash fast. You needed a relay. On this particular unit, we've adapted the actual circuitry to draw the appropriate amount of current from the bike. You will not need any additional electronics to make this run properly and with the proper flash rate. So I think that this is one of the easiest things to install on this bike. I was able to get it mounted in about 15 minutes. I've also taken this bike apart many times, so I don't know, you guys may experience a half-hour mount time, but you know, it's fun. Just follow along with my video and it makes it simple. All right guys, there you have it. This is the new TST Industries integrated taillight for the 2021 and up Yamaha MT-09. I hope you like what you see here. I am sure excited to get this in your hands and get it on your bike. I want to see what you guys think once you mount them, so please send me some feedback. I like feedback through my website. I like to hear comments under the videos here. Anything you got, throw it at me. You hate it? Cool. You love it? Cool. I want to hear it all. Thanks for watching. Hit like and subscribe. Check out tstindustries.com for these parts and other parts we have for this bike and other bikes you may have in your stable. Ride safe. See you later.